My name is Carla Jennings. I'm 34 years old, and 3 months ago, I won $8 million. I thought my best friend would be happy for me. Instead, she almost destroyed me. What followed wasn't celebration, it was betrayal, rumors, and a revenge I never thought I'd take. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you're watching from. In the comments below, hit that like button and subscribe to join me for more stories about family secrets and sweet, patient revenge. My name is Carla Jennings, and I'm 34 years old. 3 months ago, I stumbled into a secret that would change my life forever. A secret worth $8 million. But before that day, I wasn't anyone special. Just a woman living paycheck to paycheck, dragging myself out of bed for a job that drained me more than it paid me. I worked as an office assistant in a small real estate firm. The kind of job where your boss forgets your name if you don't bring his coffee right, and where the holiday bonus was a $10 gift card to a chain restaurant. I didn't complain much, though. I had gotten used to living small, and besides, I had something most people don't. I had a friend who felt like family. Her name was Tanya. She was 36, a little older than me, and sharper in ways that made me admire her. Tanya always dressed like she belonged in a better life, even if her bank account didn't match her style. We'd been friends since college, inseparable ever since. She knew my secrets, my heartbreaks, my embarrassing moments. When the world laughed at me, Tanya listened. At least that's what I thought. The night everything changed, I wasn't even planning on buying a lottery ticket. I'd stopped at a gas station after work, exhausted, just to grab milk and bread. At the counter, I spotted one last quick pick slip sitting crooked in the display. I don't know what possessed me to grab it. Maybe it was boredom. Maybe it was hope. But for $2, I figured I could at least dream for a night. I didn't check the numbers right away. That ticket sat forgotten on my kitchen counter for days, buried under unopened mail and grocery lists. It wasn't until the following Tuesday morning, half asleep with my coffee in hand, that I heard the news anchor announce the winning numbers. Something about her voice made me glance at the slip. One number matched, then another, then another. My pulse picked up. By the time I traced my finger across the last line, I couldn't breathe. Every single number matched. I must have checked it 20 times. I compared the date, the sequence, the drawing location. Everything lined up. My knees went weak and I nearly dropped the mug I was holding. $8 million. The screen kept flashing the jackpot amount like it was mocking me, daring me to believe it was real. In that moment, I didn't scream or jump around. I just stood frozen in my tiny kitchen, clutching that slip of paper like it was a live wire. The hum of the refrigerator filled the silence, louder than my heartbeat. I thought about bills stacked on the table, my leaking roof, the beat-up Honda that stalled every other week. Suddenly, all of it seemed so small. But when the shock faded, one thought rose above the rest. I had to tell someone. I didn't have a husband, no siblings. My parents lived 2 states away, and though we spoke on holidays, I hadn't told them anything real in years. But Tanya was different. She was the person I called when the world fell apart. She was the one who sat with me when my fiancé left, the one who drove me home drunk and made me laugh about it later. If anyone deserved to know my secret, it was her. I dialed her number with trembling hands. She picked up on the second ring, her voice bright as always. "Carla, what's up?" I whispered it like a confession. "I think I just won the lottery." Silence. Then a burst of laughter, sharp and disbelieving. "No way! Stop playing!" "I'm serious," I insisted, my voice breaking. $8 million. "Tanya, I checked the numbers. It's real." Another silence, this one longer. Then her tone shifted, soft, almost reverent. "Oh my God, are you kidding me? Carla, that's..." She cut herself off with a squeal. "That's insane! You're rich! You're actually rich!" Hearing her excitement steadied me. For a moment, I felt less alone in the whirlwind. I trusted her enough to whisper details, where I bought the ticket, how I planned to claim it quietly, and how terrified I was of people finding out. Tanya swore it would stay between us. "Your secret's safe with me, always." And I believed her. But if I'd known then what that whisper would unleash, rumors, vultures, betrayal, I would have swallowed the words and kept silent forever. Because that was the night I learned even best friends can turn into enemies when money whispers louder than loyalty. The morning after I discovered I had the winning ticket, I woke up with a knot in my stomach. You'd think $8 million would make a person float out of bed like they're weightless. But the truth? I felt heavy. My first thought wasn't champagne or a new car. It was, what if someone finds out before I claim it? What if I lose the ticket? What if it's all some cruel mistake? I tucked the slip of paper into a Ziploc bag, then slid it into an old jewelry box I hadn't opened in years. I hid the box in the back of my closet, behind a stack of sweaters. Still, every 5 minutes, I found myself opening the closet door, checking that it was there. My pulse spiked every time I touched it. That flimsy piece of paper held more value than everything I owned combined. By noon, I couldn't keep it in anymore. I had to talk to someone who would understand without judging me. So I called Tanya again. "Meet me at our spot," I said. She didn't need clarification. Our spot was the little diner 2 blocks from her apartment, the one with peeling red vinyl booths and watery coffee. It had been our safe haven for years. When I walked in, Tanya was already there, sipping her usual iced tea even though it was freezing outside. She flashed me that big smile of hers, the one that always made me feel like everything was going to be okay. For a second, I thought maybe it would be. I slid into the booth and leaned forward, lowering my voice. "It's real, Tanya. I wasn't imagining things last night. I have the winning ticket. $8 million. She stared at me unblinking, like she was trying to decide whether I was pranking her. Then she burst out laughing again, loud enough that 2 waitresses turned their heads. "Carla, you've got to stop playing with me like this. My heart can't take it." I pulled the folded ticket from my purse and laid it on the table. Her laughter died in her throat. She picked it up carefully, like it was made of glass, and read the numbers. Once, twice, her hand trembled as she set it back down. "Oh my God," she whispered. "You weren't kidding. You actually... Carla, this is life-changing." Her eyes filled with tears, but not the happy kind you'd expect. There was something else there. Something sharp, almost hungry. I pushed the thought aside. I wanted to believe the best about her. "I'm terrified," I admitted. "What if people find out? What if I mess it up? I don't even know how to claim it without drawing attention." Tanya reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Her nails dug slightly into my skin as if to anchor herself to me. "You're not alone in this. I've got you, Carla. Whatever you need, lawyers, accountants, someone to keep your secret, I'm here." Her words were soothing, but her eyes never left the ticket. The waitress came by to refill our drinks, and Tanya snapped the ticket off the table so fast it startled me. She slipped it back toward me with a smile that was too bright, too forced. "Don't let anyone else see this. Promise me." I promised. I told her everything I'd been too scared to say out loud, how I planned to take the lump sum, how I wanted to stay anonymous, how I didn't even want a mansion or a yacht. I just wanted peace of mind, freedom from the constant weight of bills and broken cars. She nodded along, murmuring encouragements, but I could see her mind racing behind her eyes. It was like she was already calculating the angles, the opportunities, the ways this money could change not just my life, but hers. As we left the diner, she hugged me tight. Her lips brushed my ear as she whispered, "Your secret's safe with me, always." It should have comforted me. Instead, a shiver ran down my spine, because in that moment, I didn't realize the secret I had entrusted to Tanya wasn't mine anymore. It was hers to use, hers to twist, hers to trade. And soon, it would no longer be a whisper between friends. It would become a rumor spreading faster than fire. The first sign that something was wrong came just 3 days after I showed Tanya the ticket. It was a Thursday morning, gray and wet. I was driving to work when my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Congratulations on your win. We can help you invest safely. Call us today." I nearly swerved off the road. I hadn't told a soul besides Tanya. Not my parents, not my coworkers, not even a distant cousin. I hadn't Googled how to claim the prize, hadn't posted a thing online. I was careful, too careful. So how did they know? I tried to shake it off, telling myself it must be some kind of lottery scam sent at random. But that afternoon, another message came through. Then another. This time they used my name. "Carla, don't waste your winnings. We'll protect your millions. Call now." My stomach flipped. That wasn't random. That was personal. By the end of the week, it wasn't just texts. It was phone calls. Unknown numbers from states I'd never been to. Every voicemail promised discreet financial help, trusted partnerships, life-changing investments. Their voices slithered through my phone speaker, oily and insistent. And then came the whispers in my real life. At the office, my coworker Pete leaned against my desk with a grin that was too wide. "Hey, Carla, you've been holding out on us. When are you taking the team to Vegas?" I frowned, confused. "What are you talking about?" He chuckled, wagging his finger like I'd been caught. "Don't play dumb. I heard about your big win. 8 million, right?" My heart stopped. I forced a laugh, shaking my head. "Pete, if I had $8 million, do you think I'd still be here filing your expense reports?" He laughed too, but the way he looked at me, like he didn't quite believe my denial, made my skin crawl. That night, my mother called out of the blue. We hadn't spoken in weeks, not since her passive-aggressive Christmas card about how I should visit more often. Her voice was sweet, syrupy in a way it hadn't been since I was a little girl. "Carla, honey, I heard some news about you. Something wonderful. You know, if you've come into some money, your father and I could really use help fixing the roof. The insurance company won't cover it, and winter's been so hard on us." I nearly dropped the phone. "Mom, I don't know what you're talking about." But she wouldn't let it go. She pressed, hinting, fishing, practically begging me to confirm what she already thought she knew. When I hung up, my hands were shaking. It was everywhere now. The whispers followed me like shadows. My landlord mentioned raising the rent to keep up with the times, his eyes glinting like he knew I could afford it. A woman I barely knew from the gym cornered me in the locker room chirping, "So, what's it like to be rich?" I went home that night and tore apart my apartment searching for the leak. Had I left the ticket out? Had someone seen me at the gas station? I scrolled through my emails, my bank account, my search history. Nothing. I had been careful. I had been so careful. And then it hit me. The only person who knew every detail, the gas station, the exact amount, even the fact that I planned to take the lump sum, was Tanya. I tried to shove the thought away. She was my best friend, my sister in everything but blood. She wouldn't betray me. She couldn't. But the more I replayed our conversation at the diner, the more the pieces fell into place. The way her eyes had lingered on the ticket, the way her voice had wavered when she said, "Your secret's safe with me." Safe with me. The words echoed in my head, suddenly sharp, like knives in the dark. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake in the glow of my phone screen, scrolling through the endless spam messages, the voicemails from strangers, the whispers of people I'd known for years. And for the first time, I realized the truth. This wasn't the lottery changing my life. This was Tanya changing it, selling pieces of me, one whisper at a time. By the following week, it was no longer just whispers. It was everywhere, like smoke creeping under every door of my life. On Monday morning, I walked into the office and felt the air shift. Heads turned as I passed by. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. My name floated in the silence, followed by muffled laughter. I slid into my chair, pretending not to notice. But 10 minutes later, my boss called me into his office. He gestured for me to sit, his eyes scanning me in a way that made my skin crawl. "Carla," he began, voice dripping with fake warmth, "I hear congratulations are in order." I froze. "For what?" He chuckled. "Don't be modest. Word around the office is that you came into some money. Quite a bit, actually. Listen, I think it's wonderful. You've worked hard here, but opportunities open up when you're in a better position financially." I stared at him, unblinking. Was he hinting that I should quit? Or that I should contribute to the company? I didn't ask. I mumbled something about not knowing what he was talking about and rushed back to my desk, my cheeks burning. That afternoon, during lunch in the break room, 2 coworkers sat across from me whispering, loud enough for me to hear. 8 million, can you imagine? If I had that, I wouldn't even be here, one said. Yeah, well, some people forget who their real friends are once they've got cash, but she's already planning her escape. The other replied. Their eyes flicked toward me. They didn't even try to hide it. By Tuesday, it had spread beyond the office. I got a Facebook message from a high school acquaintance I hadn't spoken to in years. "Hey girl, remember me? So happy for you. Want to grab coffee and catch up?" Then came the phone calls. Cousins I barely remembered, old neighbors, a guy I once went on 2 awkward dates with back in my 20s. All of them smiling voices, suddenly so eager to reconnect. I ignored them all, but the pressure built like a vice around my temples. How did they know? Who was talking? On Wednesday night, I got my answer. I was in line at the grocery store when 2 women in front of me started chatting. I didn't recognize them, but their words cut me in half. "Did you hear about Carla Jennings, the one who used to date that mechanic?" The other laughed. "Oh yeah, won 8 million in the lottery, my friend Tanya told me. Can you believe it?" I felt my throat close. My groceries trembled in my hands. Tanya. It wasn't just suspicion anymore. It wasn't paranoia. It was fact. She had told people. She had told enough people that strangers were saying my name in grocery store lines. I walked out without buying anything. My car felt like a coffin as I sat there, gripping the steering wheel, staring into the night. My best friend, my sister, had sold me out. The betrayal was worse than the fear. I could have handled scammers and strangers, but Tanya, she knew every piece of me. She knew my insecurities, my weak spots, my dreams. She knew how much trust I had placed in her, and she had shattered it with one careless whisper. That night, I confronted her in my head 1,000 times. I imagined storming into her apartment, waving the ticket in her face, demanding to know why she had betrayed me. I imagined her crying, apologizing, saying it was all a mistake. But when I actually picked up the phone, I couldn't dial. Because deep down, I realized something chilling. If Tanya had the power to spread my secret this far in just a few days, what else could she do if I pushed her? What other parts of my life could she unravel with her lies? So instead, I stayed silent. I waited. I listened. And I began to plan. Because if Tanya wanted to play games with my life, I would show her what it felt like to be the one on the losing side. There's a difference between suspecting someone and knowing for certain. Suspicion gnaws at you, eats away at your sleep, makes you second-guess yourself. But once suspicion hardens into truth, it doesn't gnaw anymore. It burns. That Friday, Tanya invited me over to her apartment. She texted, "Wine night? You need a break from all the stress." The irony almost made me laugh. She was the stress. But I went anyway. A part of me still wanted to believe she was innocent, that this whole nightmare was some misunderstanding. Her apartment was warm and cozy, scented with vanilla candles. She greeted me with her usual big hug, pressing a glass of red wine into my hand before I'd even set down my coat. "Girl, you look exhausted," she said, settling onto the couch beside me. "What's been going on?" I studied her face carefully, the way her eyes sparkled, the sly little curve of her lips. It all seemed exaggerated now, almost performative. I wondered how many people she had already told my secret to. 10? 20? How many of them had passed it on again, like gossip at a party? I decided to test her. "Tanya," I said, lowering my voice, "I've been thinking about moving, maybe even out of state, somewhere quiet where nobody knows me. Don't tell anyone, though. I need time to figure it out." Her eyebrows shot up. "Really? Wow, that's huge. But of course, I won't tell a soul." She clinked her glass against mine and smiled. But I noticed the way her fingers twitched, how quickly she grabbed her phone when I excused myself to the bathroom. I didn't say anything then. I just watched, waited. 2 days later, the proof landed in my lap. My cousin Emily, who I hadn't spoken to in years, called out of the blue. "Carla," she squealed, "I heard you're planning to move. That's amazing. Where are you going? Can I visit?" The blood drained from my face. I hadn't told anyone about moving, except Tanya. It was over. No more doubts, no more excuses. Tanya wasn't just leaking my secrets, she was spreading them like wildfire. That night, I sat in my apartment, staring at the ticket still hidden in my jewelry box. I thought about every conversation I'd ever had with Tanya. Every time I'd poured my heart out, every time I'd trusted her with things I never told anyone else. And now, all I could picture was her smile as she handed those secrets away, piece by piece, like coins from a purse that wasn't hers. I wanted to call her and scream. I wanted to tell her she had ruined everything, that her betrayal had poisoned the best moment of my life. But when I grabbed my phone, I stopped, because a new thought had taken root in my mind. What if I let her keep talking? What if I fed her just enough truth mixed with lies? Things that sounded real, things she couldn't resist sharing. What if I turned her hunger into a trap? The idea lit a spark in me. For the first time since winning, I felt a flicker of control. That night, I wrote down a plan. I'd give Tanya carefully crafted secrets, fake investments, fake opportunities, fake confessions. I'd let her betray me again and again until the lies circled back to her, until everyone saw her for what she really was. It wouldn't be quick, it wouldn't be clean, but it would be justice. When I finally turned off the light and lay in bed, I felt the burn of betrayal in my chest soften just slightly. Tanya thought she had won, thought she had turned my fortune into her weapon. But she had no idea. The game had just begun. The next time Tanya and I met, I carried my betrayal like a stone in my chest. I smiled, I laughed, I let her pour me a glass of wine, but underneath, my thoughts were sharp as glass. She thought she had me fooled. She thought her whispers were invisible, that I hadn't noticed the vultures circling. But I had, and I was ready to set the stage for something she wouldn't see coming. It started with small things. I told her I was considering buying a beach house in Florida, something big and flashy, the kind of details she wouldn't be able to resist bragging about. I didn't even like Florida. But within 2 days, my coworker Pete walked by my desk, humming Kokomo and smirking. "Heard you're moving to the beach, Carla. Don't forget us little people." I forced a laugh, but inside, I smiled. Tanya had taken the bait. The following week, I planted another seed. Over dinner at her place, between bites of takeout noodles, I said casually, I've been thinking about investing in a startup. Some guy approached me about a wellness app. Sounds promising. Her eyes lit up. Really? What kind of app? I shrugged. Oh, just one of those meditation things. I'm not sure it's legit, though. I told him I'd think about it. But keep it quiet, okay? She nodded eagerly, swearing again that my secrets were safe with her. But 3 days later, I got an email from a complete stranger with the subject line, "Exciting new wellness investment opportunity." The email repeated almost word for word what I told Tanya. By then, there was no doubt. She wasn't just whispering carelessly, she was feeding my life to anyone who would listen. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I doubled down. I gave her another story, juicier this time. One night over drinks, I lowered my voice and leaned in close. "Tanya, you can't tell anyone this, but I think I've been approached about a private real estate deal, like luxury condos downtown. They said I could buy in early before anyone else." Her eyes gleamed like a cat spotting prey. She asked questions, who contacted me, how much it would cost, what the return might be. I fed her half-truths and vague details, careful not to give her anything real. Sure enough, within a week, I overheard 2 people at the coffee shop near my office whispering about me. "Carla's getting into condos now. Must be nice." I stirred my coffee, pretending not to hear, but inside, I felt a rush of satisfaction. The trap was working. Each lie I told Tanya was a thread in the net I was weaving, and with every whisper she spread, the net tightened around her. But I wasn't just testing her anymore. I was studying her, watching how she leaned forward when money was involved, how her voice changed when she repeated promises she had no intention of keeping. I began to see Tanya differently, not as my friend, not even as a person, but as a machine fueled by greed. She didn't hear my words as confessions. She heard them as currency. And the more I gave her, the more reckless she became. She started dropping hints in front of mutual friends, little slips of the tongue that were anything but accidents. One night, at a bar, she laughed loudly and said, "Carla's basically a millionaire now, aren't you, babe?" I forced a smile, but my knuckles turned white around my glass. That was the moment I realized Tanya wasn't just betraying me behind closed doors, she was flaunting it. She thought she was untouchable, that her position as my best friend gave her immunity. But immunity was exactly what I planned to strip away. The confrontation wasn't going to be loud. It wasn't going to be a screaming match or a tearful fight. No. I was going to let Tanya dig her own grave, and when she was in deep enough, I'd be the one handing her the shovel. The night Tanya laughed about me being a millionaire in front of our friends, something inside me clicked. That was the moment I stopped mourning the friendship we'd lost. I stopped wishing she'd come clean or apologize. Instead, I started thinking like her, calculating, cold. If Tanya wanted to turn my life into gossip, then I would turn her gossip into a trap. I began with research. I spent hours reading about scams, fake investment pitches, and how people lose everything chasing quick money. I didn't want to steal from Tanya outright. I wanted something sharper. I wanted her to destroy herself using the same greed she'd used to destroy my trust. The plan came together slowly, like stitching a quilt out of lies. Each patch was a story I'd feed her, carefully crafted, believable enough to tempt her, dangerous enough to backfire when she spread it. The first lie was simple. Over wine at her apartment, I whispered, "Tanya, I've been talking to a guy about offshore investments. It's hush-hush, but he says I could double my money in 6 months. He's looking for more people to buy in, though." Her eyes widened. "Really? How much?" I lowered my gaze like I was confessing something risky. 50 grand minimum. But don't say anything, he only wants serious investors. I could practically hear the gears turning in her head. Within a week, she was bragging to her cousin about exclusive offshore opportunities. I knew because her cousin messaged me on Facebook, asking if I could let him in too. Perfect. The second lie was bolder. I told Tanya I was considering buying into a luxury spa franchise. "It's not public yet," I murmured, sliding the bait across the table like contraband. "But the returns are insane. I'm thinking of dropping a few $100,000 into it." She leaned forward, her breath quick, her fingers tapping the wine glass. "A spa franchise? Oh my God, Carla, that's genius. Can anyone else buy in?" I pretended to hesitate, then sighed. "Maybe, but it's risky. I don't want people blaming me if it doesn't pan out." She nodded, but I saw it in her eyes. She was already planning how to spin it, how to pass along the tip and make herself look important. By the end of the month, Tanya was neck-deep in the stories I'd fed her. She'd told her cousin, her coworkers, and even a few of our mutual friends about the spa franchise. One night, I overheard her on the phone whispering urgently, "I can get you in, but you need to act fast. Carla's keeping it low-key." The pride in her voice was unmistakable. She wasn't just leaking my secrets anymore. She was selling them, using my name like currency to buy influence and attention. Exactly as I'd planned. But I wasn't done. I wanted the final trap to sting so badly she'd never forget it. So I created one last story, the biggest yet. Over dinner one evening, I sighed dramatically and said, "I wasn't going to tell you this, but I've been offered a chance to buy into a development project. High-rise condos. It's supposed to be a sure thing, but the buy-in is steep, 200 grand. Her fork froze halfway to her mouth. 200 grand? I nodded slowly. "It's risky, Tanya. Don't get involved. Promise me." Of course, I knew exactly what she would do. The warning only made it sweeter to her. By the next week, word had spread through our circle that Carla's sitting on the deal of the century. I even got a text from a stranger claiming to be a contractor, asking if I needed help with the downtown project. The net was closing, And here's the best part. Every single one of these deals was fake. Offshore accounts, spa franchises, condo developments. I made it all up. Tanya had nothing to gain, but everything to lose. Every time she repeated my lies, she tied herself tighter into the web. Because when the truth came out, when people realized these golden opportunities were nothing but smoke, who would they blame? Not me. I'd never promised them anything. They'd blame the messenger, Tanya, the girl who whispered too much, the friend who wanted me broke, and I would be there watching when her empire of lies collapsed under its own weight. It didn't take long for Tanya to trip the wire. For weeks, I'd been feeding her lies. Offshore accounts, spa franchises, phantom condo projects, and watching her scatter them like breadcrumbs to anyone willing to listen. But what I hadn't expected was how badly she wanted in for herself. It started with a text late one night. "Carla, I've been thinking. What if I invest in that spa deal too? Maybe we could do it together." I stared at the message, my heart pounding. She wasn't just whispering anymore. She was reaching. She wanted a slice of the pie she thought I had. The next day, she cornered me at our diner. She leaned across the sticky table, eyes gleaming. "I've got some savings, Carla, not a ton, but enough. If I put in, say, 20 grand, could you talk to your guy, get me in?" I took a slow sip of my coffee, forcing myself to look hesitant. "Tanya, it's really risky. I don't want to see you lose your money." She waved her hand, dismissing my warning. "Please, I know what I'm doing. You said the returns were insane. I want in. I trust you." The word trust almost made me laugh out loud. I played along, telling her I'd see what I could do. Over the next week, she kept pressing me, sending messages, asking if I'd talk to my contact. Each time, I told her to be patient, to keep it quiet. The anticipation drove her wild. Finally, I gave her the bait she couldn't resist. I told her I'd spoken to the investor and that he was willing to let one more person buy in, but only if she moved quickly. She didn't hesitate. Within days, she drained part of her savings, pulled strings with her credit card, and scraped together the money. She was shaking when she handed me the envelope stuffed with cash. "Don't lose this," she whispered, clutching my arm. "This is everything I've got." I took it calmly, hiding the storm brewing inside me. She didn't know the money was going nowhere. She didn't know I'd arranged for it to circle back to her in the most humiliating way possible. Because while Tanya believed she was investing, I had made sure the deal would collapse spectacularly. I'd set it up so that when she bragged to others, as I knew she would, the scam would unravel and her name would be at the center of the fallout. And brag she did. By the end of the week, I overheard her at a bar, tipsy and smug, telling a group of friends, "Carla and I are in on a spa investment, huge returns, we're basically set for life." She even offered to connect them if they had the cash. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. It didn't take long for the dominoes to fall. The people she bragged to started asking questions. Where was the paperwork? Who was running the deal? When could they see results? Tanya had no answers, just vague promises and nervous smiles. Then, one by one, the truth came out. The wellness company she'd hyped didn't exist. The investor was nowhere to be found. The whole opportunity had been smoke. And since Tanya had been the one running her mouth, she took the full brunt of the blame. I watched it unfold from the sidelines. Friends she tried to impress suddenly turned on her. One accused her of being a scammer. Another said she'd embarrassed them by spreading lies. She tried to defend herself. "Carla told me. Carla's the one who—" But the beauty of my plan was that I'd never promised anyone anything. I'd kept it all between us. Out loud, I shrugged, confused. "I don't know what she's talking about. I never told her to invest." The more she scrambled, the guiltier she looked. Her reputation cracked, then shattered. People stopped answering her calls. Her cousin, the one she'd bragged to first, called her a fraud to her face. And Tanya? She was left standing in the ruins, clutching her empty savings account, realizing too late that the jackpot she thought she'd stolen wasn't real. The trap had snapped shut. And I didn't feel guilty. Not one bit. Because in my mind, it wasn't revenge. It was justice. When the spa lie collapsed, Tanya didn't just trip, she tumbled headfirst into her own ruin. It started small, with whispers. People avoided her table at the diner. Coworkers rolled their eyes when she walked into the break room. I heard one of them mutter, "Here comes the scam queen," as she passed. At first, she tried to laugh it off. Tanya had always been the type to smooth over cracks with charm, but charm can't cover the sound of doors slamming shut. The fallout spread like wildfire. Her cousin, furious that he'd bragged to his friends about getting in early on the spa deal, cornered her at a family gathering. He accused her of lying, of humiliating him. I heard from a mutual friend that he shouted, "You're a fraud, Tanya. Don't ever talk to me again." It didn't stop there. Word reached her landlord, who suddenly questioned whether Tanya could pay her rent. Clients at her job, where she worked part-time managing events, started canceling contracts. One even left a scathing review online, calling her untrustworthy and dishonest. I watched it all unfold like a storm rolling across the horizon. Tanya had always thrived on being the center of attention. Now she was the center of a scandal, and the attention cut her to pieces. She stopped posting glamorous selfies on social media. The once perfect outfits gave way to messy buns and tired eyes. When she called me, her voice was brittle, all the arrogance stripped away. "Carla," she whispered one night, "I don't know what to do. Everyone hates me. They think I lied about everything. You have to tell them it's real, please." I let the silence hang. My heart was pounding, but my voice was calm when I said, "Tanya, you told them, not me." Her breath hitched. "But I only wanted—" She broke off, sobbing. "I wanted to feel important. I thought if I shared a little, it wouldn't matter. I didn't know it would blow up like this." I closed my eyes. For a flicker of a moment, the old Tanya was there, the girl I'd laughed with at 3 a.m, the girl who once sat with me through heartbreak. But then I remembered the text messages from strangers, the coworkers smirking, my mother hinting for money, and I hardened again. "Secrets matter," I told her quietly. "You sold mine. Now you're paying the price." The next time I saw her in person, she looked like a ghost of herself. Her skin was pale, her eyes ringed with shadows. She clutched my hand so tightly it hurt. "Carla, I'm begging you. Please forgive me. I'll do anything. I'll never talk about you again. Just help me fix this." Her desperation should have satisfied me. This was the woman who had whispered my life away, who had made me a target, who had smiled while spreading lies that weren't hers to tell. Now she was on her knees, humiliated, ruined. But instead of satisfaction, I felt something colder, detachment. I realized I didn't care about her apologies. I didn't need her forgiveness. She had already carved herself out of my life. "Tanya," I said softly, pulling my hand free, "you wanted me broke. Now you're the one begging for scraps." Her mouth opened, but no words came. Only silence, thick and choking. That was the last time I saw her as my friend. In the weeks that followed, Tanya disappeared from our circles entirely. She quit her job, her phone number changed. Mutual friends told me she was laying low, trying to rebuild. But the damage was done. Her name had become a warning, a punchline. And me? I still had the ticket. I still had my millions. But more than that, I had my revenge. Because money can buy freedom, but betrayal deserves consequences. And Tanya had finally learned that lesson. People always say revenge doesn't fix anything, that it leaves you empty, that it costs you more than the person you hurt. But as I sat alone in my kitchen weeks later, sipping wine from a glass I'd bought with my winnings, I realized they were wrong. Revenge hadn't emptied me. It had freed me. Tanya had taken something priceless from me: trust. She had dangled my secrets like keys in front of strangers, watching as the wolves circled closer. She wanted me vulnerable. She wanted me broke. And now, she was the one who'd lost everything. I heard little pieces of her downfall in whispers. Someone told me she'd been evicted. Another said she'd tried to get a job out of state, but her reputation followed her. The last I heard, she was living in a cramped apartment with a roommate she barely knew, the queen of nothing. It didn't make me smile. It didn't make me cry. It just settled me. Because betrayal is like poison. It spreads until it eats away the person you thought you knew. And once it's inside them, there's no saving them. Tanya had chosen her path, and she'd walked it straight into ruin. Do I regret it? Sometimes I wonder. Sometimes late at night, I hear her laugh echoing in my head, the laugh of the girl who once called me sister, and for a second, I miss her. But then I remember the phone calls from strangers, the scams, the humiliation. I remember the fear of not knowing who to trust, and the memory hardens me again. I learned something through all of this. Money doesn't just change you, it changes everyone around you. It turns friends into scavengers, trust into currency. When the jackpot hit, I thought I'd won freedom. But the truth is, I'd stepped into a cage lined with gold, and Tanya was the first to rattle the bars. Now, I live differently. My circle is small, my words are careful. I don't whisper secrets anymore, because whispers spread like wildfire, and I've already watched one person burn. So if you ever find yourself holding the winning numbers, clutching that ticket with trembling hands, remember this. The jackpot doesn't just reveal who you are, it reveals who your friends truly are. And some of them, they'll want you broke before they ever want you happy. That's the whispered lesson Tanya left me with. A lesson etched deeper than money, deeper than friendship. And I'll never forget it. If you found this story gripping, don't forget to hit that like button. Drop a comment below. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? And subscribe for more true tales of luck, betrayal, and revenge, whispered straight into your ears.